The man heading up the Democrats' campaign to take back the Senate next year, Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. Senator Van Hollen, let me pick up right where Senator Cornyn left off right there. He says he still has confidence in Robert Mueller, but that Mr. Mueller should take further steps to erase any perception of partisanship on his team. Do you think that's advisable?
Well, I think Republicans should end their concerted effort to undermine the credibility of the Mueller investigation. You've got somebody who, by all accounts, is an independent person, somebody who's got lots of integrity, and you see a concerted effort out of the White House to undermine the investigation. I really hope our Republican colleagues will not join in subverting that process and trying to end this investigation. The question is, what are they afraid of? What is the White House afraid of? Let's let them finish the job and get the facts.
But why isn't it a problem if several members of Mueller's team have given contributions solely to Democrats, if they seem to have text messages or other information in their past which suggests that there may be a political bias there?
Well, because Mueller has already taken actions with respect to those individuals, beyond that, you will find that there are many contributions that were made by folks like FBI director to President Trump or Republicans. And the reality is that people in these jobs have integrity. They're under the leadership of Mueller, who is known for being a straight shooter. He will do a job. He'll get to the facts. And I strongly believe that people will have confidence in his judgment.
Do you take the president's team at their word where they say that right now that firing special counsel Mueller is not on the table?
Well, I certainly hope that's the case.
Let's move on to the tax bill right now. You heard Senator Cornyn right there inviting Democrats to come to the table for what he says will be a big boon to the middle class. Your response?
Look, George, this is a total betrayal of President Trump's economic populist message on the campaign trail. It's a huge giveaway to big corporations. Millions of middle-class taxpayers will see their taxes go up, even though Republicans promised that would not happen. Millionaires will get an average annual tax break of $35,000 a year. And the big winners are those corporations. And I think many people haven't focused on the fact that 35% of the shareholders of those corporations are actually foreign stockholders who in the year 2019 are going to get a $31 billion tax break. So millions of American taxpayers handing over money to foreign stockholders. It doesn't sound like America first to me. It doesn't sound like the middle class first.
You heard the senator's response to that provision I asked him about, which had caught your eye earlier as well, a special carve-out for real estate LLCs, which could mean tens of millions of dollars to President Trump and other Republicans. Do you have any idea how that got in? Any chance it could be taken out?
I don't know how it got in. What we do know is they're behind closed doors. There are a whole army of lobbyists who are surrounding them, and the longer they're in there, the more you see these special interest provisions, George, which, as you indicate, would be a windfall to Donald Trump based on everything we know. Of course, he hasn't released his tax returns. It reminds me of the fact that during the campaign, the one issue Donald Trump used as Exhibit A for why this tax code was broken was the carried interest loophole for hedge fund managers. He said during the campaign that hedge fund managers are getting away with murder. You just heard Senator Cornyn. They've got a 1,000-page bill. Nowhere in it do they get rid of the one tax giveaway special break that Donald Trump focused on most during the campaign. And that is why this is a total betrayal of that economic populist message, and people are catching on. That's why it's so unpopular.
You also heard Senator Cornyn's response to the possibility that Medicare cuts will be triggered by this bill. He certainly invited Democrats to prevent those, expects Democrats to come on board. Will Democrats really allow $25 billion in Medicare cuts to take effect? You won't vote for the waiver?
No, Democrats are not going to allow those cuts to go in place, and it is a fact that when Republicans voted for this tax bill that increases the debt by $1.5 trillion. In doing so, they automatically triggered this provision that would cut Medicare by $25 billion. Now that we hope that they will join us in turning it off. But if you look towards next year, you've got a lot of Republicans who used to care about the debt. I used to be the senior Democrat on the Budget Committee. Paul Ryan used to talk always about the dangers of debt. agreed on that issue. Now they've blown a big hole in the debt, and if you look at their budget, it's right there. Their plan for dealing with that is to cut Medicare by $500 billion and Medicaid by over $1 trillion. It's right there in the Republican budget, and this is step 2 of their plan because they just increased our debt by over $1 trillion.
But House Leader Pelosi, in that letter I showed you, suggested Democrats will not go along with the waiver. You're taking a different position.
When it comes to protecting Medicare, Democrats have always been front and center. Doug Jones talked about that in his Alabama race. There are many other provisions now that Republicans may try to get into these bills that Democrats will not support. We need to make sure that we're investing in our kids' education and infrastructure, as well as investing in our military strength. And so there are a whole lot of issues, George, with respect to the budget bill coming down to the wire here.
You're heading up the Democrats' effort to take back the Senate in 2018. Got that unexpected win in Alabama, not a seat you were counting on for 2018. But is that really a model for the year ahead, or is Roy Moore just such a flawed candidate that it doesn't really tell you that much about what's going to happen in 2018?
No, I think it tells you quite a bit if you take what happened in Alabama combined with what happened last month in Virginia and other races. You find a couple things. One, a hugely energized grassroots Democratic base, plus, and very importantly, independent voters voting for the Democratic candidate, and a lot of moderate Republicans crossing over in Alabama and other places. And I will tell you, this tax giveaway to big corporations that's going to be paid for by millions of middle-class taxpayers is only going to further inflame those moderate Republicans and bring more people over to Democratic candidates. You've got this civil war in these Republican primaries. They flock toward Donald Trump in the primaries. That's not going to be a winning message for them in the general.
You worried that Al Franken's resignation has put that Minnesota seat at risk?
No, we have a terrific candidate. As you know, the lieutenant governor is now going to be appointed and going to run for that seat. She's going to be a terrific member of the Senate and a terrific candidate.
Chris Van Hollen, thanks for your time this morning.